Did you know that many of the fruits, vegetables, nuts, and berries we get is from pollination? Pollinators are critical for our food systems, and with urban areas increasing, we need to provide habitat for them to thrive. Do you want to know how? You can create a pollinator garden, just like this one located here in Sanford, North Carolina. Let's take a tour. Welcome to Pollinator Haven, the teaching and demonstration pollinator garden at the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Center in Lee County. Today, we're going to take a walk through the garden and to learn how the space was created, to see the many plants and pollinators that call this garden home, and to identify how we can support pollinators by planting gardens just like this one. Pollinator Haven was created by the group effort of the Extension Master Gardener Volunteers, 4-H, and the Horticulture Extension Agent, Minda Daughtry. This lush, inviting space welcomes pollinators and visitors alike to enjoy the abundant and colorful blooms that are present throughout the season. To create the site, Extension Master Gardener volunteers research plants which support a diversity of pollinators to include in the garden. The group then designed the landscape, prepared the site, and planted the garden, which they actively maintain today. The purpose of Pollinator Haven is to educate the public about the importance of pollinators and to teach about pollinator habitat. As you walk around the garden, you can learn about the different plants that are here. You can learn their common names and their botanical names. There are also educational signs located throughout the garden, which list fun facts to help you learn about the different types of pollinators and their amazing abilities. Pollinator Haven has close to 40 different species of plants, all of which were planted with pollinators in mind. And this number is always growing. Some of these plants include black-eyed Susan, blazing star, common milkweed, lanceleaf tickseed, lantana, mountain mint, purple coneflower, rattlesnake master, Russian sage, spotted bee balm, and verbena. You can find the complete list of plants featured at Pollinator Haven on the Lee County Extension website. There are many animals which pollinate flowers, such as bees, wasps, butterflies, moths, flies, beetles, bats, and birds. In North Carolina, we have over 500 species of native bees alone. Pollinators visit flowers looking for food, looking for nectar and pollen to feed themselves and their young. In the process of visiting flowers, they pick up pollen on their bodies. Bees are especially good at this because they are covered in hair, which pollen gets stuck to. As they move to different flowers of the same species, or even parts of the same flower, they transfer the pollen and fertilize the seeds, which allow that plant to reproduce. Pollinators come in different shapes and sizes, so it makes sense that different plants serve different pollinators. In fact, flowering plants co-evolved with their partner pollinators, which is why flowers have such a variety of bloom sizes, colors, shapes, and scents. Form fits function. This salvia has long, tubular flowers. The flower's structure is great for butterflies, moths, and hummingbirds, which have long tongues or mouth parts that allow them to reach further into narrow flower tubes for nectar. In contrast, flowers such as yarrow and English thyme have tiny flowers, which support pollinators like some of our smaller native bees, wasps, and flies. They often have shorter mouth parts that cannot reach the nectar located further back in a narrow tubular flower. Mountain mint is especially popular with all kinds of wasps. This plant's flower shape acts as a nice landing pad for the insects to land on. This is why Pollinator Haven contains so many different types of flowers. Having a diverse selection of flowering plants with different shapes and colors supports diverse groups of pollinators. It's also important to include plants which bloom at different times of the year so that you provide food for pollinators from spring to fall. Having at least 3 species in bloom at all times is a good rule of thumb. Lastly, include plants that act as nesting resources for pollinators to raise their young, such as black-eyed Susan, hibiscus, and goldenrod for our native bees, and dill, parsley, or milkweed for butterflies. We hope you've enjoyed your time here at Pollinator Haven and that it's inspired you to plant a pollinator garden of your own. Whether you have a large space like this one, or even just a few pots, every plant makes a difference. As urban areas are increasing, we need to provide more habitat for our pollinators so they can continue to produce beautiful flowers like these and food that we enjoy to eat and that's super nutritious. To learn more about Pollinator Haven located in Lee County, visit our website.